Hey everybody, Brian Von VA got a question for you today. What is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to player NPC interactions? I am a DM with 7 years of gameplay experience. I have multiple different stories, but this one takes the cake. 5 players, all close friends of mine, wanted to learn and pick up D&D to check out my interests and involve themselves more with me, which was amazing, to say the least. The PC, problem child, who mostly joined presumably due to FOMO, was a dragonborn fighter. He loved Skyrim, so you know how that's gonna go. The party started out at level 4, to give them more to work with, as well as allowing them to feel strong and engage with the world just a little more. This player, out of character, spent most of his time on his phone and never paid much attention to the dialogue or what was going on, repeatedly asking, "What's going on?" or "Wait, what are we doing?" Considering they were new and didn't usually play games like this, I just brushed it off and explained, every single time. The fated day. PC approaches an inn's mission board and asks for all the different missions the party can do. PC then dozes off after the second quest explanation, but that's fine. PC asks me to repeat, and I do so. The PC then ignores the quest board and goes to speak to a group of bystanders, immediately mouthing off and trying to instigate a fight. Bear in mind, this is our 10th session in, and I have been repeating myself several times every single session. Losing my mind and seeing how he didn't care, I ended the session and called out the group, especially him. I told him that if he wasn't interested, he could just not play, instead of wasting both my and the party's time. PC, to say the least, wasn't happy, but he swallowed his pride and cleaned up his act for the rest of the quest. But I rolled a nat 20. Yeah, so you got the most beneficial result possible within reason. No, that dwarf who hates elves won't join your drow bard for a drink just because you're glib. But at least you avoided a bruised kidney. I just want players to tell me what they do, what they say, or what they want, not what skills they want to roll. Take action or state a desired outcome, and I can help you get there. If you just tell me you want to roll persuasion, I've got nothing to work with. Luckily, this is something I very rarely need to worry about because my current group is amazing. But still, it sucks when it happens and brings the game to a screeching halt. Another pet peeve, similar but different. Just tell me what you're actually trying to do or achieve. Don't walk me through 10 different steps of some convoluted plan to try and, trick me into letting you do something or surprise me with something I hadn't thought of. Unless I actually know what you're trying to accomplish, it's not gonna happen. Because I can't make it happen. I'm also on your side. If you have a cool idea, I'm much more likely to say yes than if you just ask me a bunch of random questions. Is there a chandelier? What is it held up by? Can I cut through the rope or chain? Where is it hanging? How heavy is it? That's just gonna annoy me and frustrate you when I say no. But is there a chandelier I can drop on the enemies to deal damage or knock them prone? That tells me what you actually want, and lets me be flexible. Maybe there isn't a chandelier, but there are a bunch of barrels you could roll into them, because a chandelier wouldn't make sense in that room. Players who, by choice, make their character someone who's just rude and constantly throwing out snarky comments to every NPC. They just drive me nuts. Their quips are never as clever as they think, and it always ends up crossing the line into just being rude to the DM. If it's made clear that this is just a throwaway NPC to satisfy some temporary need, you do not need to ask their name. I started naming them after disposable things. Zipalock, pay per toe L. You get the idea. Give me money. They're monologuing. I attack. They're being rude. Insight check, 25 total. They seem trustworthy. I don't trust them at all. I'm going to ignore the information you just gave me. This is all called Darwinism, ladies and gentlemen. Biggest pet peeve is bringing real life to the board and vice versa. The worst experience I ever had was a guy who thought he could vicariously live out his real-life racism in-game. My personal trigger is when players think persuasion skill checks are basically magical mind control. Ooh, great! You want to convince the shopkeeper to give you a better price, despite the fact that your character looks like a street urchin covered in filth and gore. Yup, rolls dice. Natural 20. Okay, the shopkeeper agrees to knock 10% off just to get to the business. What? It should be free. I rolled a nat 20. Thankfully, I haven't had issues like that. My biggest problems have been 1. Making an area sound dangerous only for my group to refuse to go there, and 2. My group constantly trying to recruit NPCs to help out. I balance encounters for the party, and it's tough to set the mood without scaring them off. Yes, it's scary, but you're the heroes. Dealing with scary stuff is literally your job. Plus, I don't want to take away agency by having NPCs do the work for them. So I'm constantly having to come up with reasons why they can't avoid the scary stuff, and why powerful NPCs can't just swoop in and save the day. If they want a prolonged escort quest and play Ashley, well, I'm sure there's a mod for it for Resident Evil 4. My biggest pet peeve is when a PC treats an NPC like garbage for no discernible reason. I mean actively insulting and antagonizing would-be allies, authority figures, or even the humble shopkeeper. During one particularly memorable game, I had a PC try to convince a recently widowed woman that another PC wasn't the murderer. In the middle of the conversation, he managed to insult both the widow and her recently deceased husband. Right to her face. I had him roll at disadvantage, and unsurprisingly, he failed. I suspect this kind of behavior comes from 2 beliefs. First, the player assumes they can do whatever they want because the plot will move forward regardless, and second, some people just enjoy role-playing behavior they'd never get away with in real life. I don't really hate it, but it's always interesting to see how quickly my players latch onto the first faction they meet. The second group could be more pathetic, weaker, younger, older, or even more noble, but it's always the same. So, why do they want to fight our ally? They should have tried negotiating. But they killed ally's friend, loved one. How do we let that slide? But this guy's friendly. In one campaign, they literally sided with a vampire because they found a notebook of crimes their prisoners had committed. When the prisoners tried to rise up and break free, the party killed anyone who broke their chains. Now, the vampire is in charge of training royal knights in the art of combat and interrogation. In another campaign, they were betrayed by devils, but the devils came back to help, so the party was apparently fine being betrayed 2 more times. The devils never openly fought them, mind you. They just manipulated others into doing the dirty work, then showed up to help out. And in that same campaign, they later met a celestial whose son wanted to help them fight, thanks to some good persuasion rolls. The celestial, afraid for his son's safety, took away his son's magic and told the party the world is big and they're not as strong as they need to be. The party still hasn't forgiven that guy, but they took his son anyway and taught him how to fight by other means. I swear, they'll offer the first brigand money, then kill a charitable noble for forgetting a single orphan. There's a few I've seen in the comments here that I think all kinda tie back to my big one. No commitment to verisimilitude. That's a $5 word, so I'll break it down a little with the example of the Greenskins in Warhammer. The Greenskins are a funny faction when you look at the setting from the outside. Mushroom-based football hooligans with goofy names and subconscious reality-bending powers. But nobody inside the setting thinks they are funny. They're a deadly, serious problem and every character treats them that way. That's the kind of thing I like in my games. I'm all for having a good time and laughing about stuff out of character, but our characters don't have the same reference point we do. To them, the game is real. So stuff like constant memes and pop culture references, NPC abuse just for the laughs, in-character taking offense at stuff that would be normal for them, never taking threats seriously, and so on. That all really takes me out of it. I've built and populated this world to play in. The least you could do is actually play in it instead of just using your character sheet as a vehicle to take the piss out of it. I don't buy into the whole "the tavern keeper is secretly a dragon or retired level 20 adventurer" trope. If you antagonize the townsfolk, they simply stop working with you. One time, the party got kicked out of a tavern and then couldn't rest anywhere else in town because no one would let them in. Simple folk don't have much going on, so rumors spread fast like a plague. No one wants to serve unruly mercenaries or help them on their quest. The party cleaned up their act after that. Usually, it never escalates to stealing, killing, or full-on murder hobo behavior because I just don't allow players like that in my games. Here's your text, rewritten for clarity and flow. I DM for my friends. Another friend joins, but eventually he starts bringing his DS. Only pays attention during combat, gets annoyed that he doesn't know how to play his character, and complains that he doesn't know what's happening in the story. He ends up leaving. Good riddance. In my current group, 2 players play other games together every week and treat this one as the casual game. They get distracted talking to each other about nothing, then get mad when I move the game forward without them. Sometimes the DM just has to keep things moving for them. It's a lot easier once you accept that. People using charm magic and expecting there to be no long-term ramifications. In my opinion, it's rather evil to try to override someone's agency. And I seriously doubt a society would tolerate people casting magic on others just to get information or better deals on goods. The attachment or resentment toward random NPCs is less of a pet peeve and more just puzzling, as it seems very arbitrary why the party sometimes forms a strong reaction to certain NPCs, especially unimportant ones like a general goods store owner they visit to buy some basic supplies, while being very indifferent to more plot-relevant NPCs they've interacted with multiple times. DM introduces a female NPC. The players just immediately go, "Oh my god, I flirt with her. Can I sleep with her? Oh, I want her." I do insert check here, and then roll and stare at you. I don't require a ton of role-playing at my table because it's not everyone's cup of tea, but at least say what you want to do or what you're attempting to do, or say to someone and wait for me to call out what the check is. Also, players assuming that they know what the DC is at all times, and getting pissed off when they fail a check. I don't allow evil characters. I also explicitly ban morally gray PCs that only do evil things, but occasionally pet a dog or just feel guilty about their murders or some shit like that. The ones who come in with a lawful evil PC, but when they're told they can't have an evil character, they erase lawful evil and replace it with chaotic neutral. Ugh, my PCs are too thirsty. Seriously, the man just lost his whole family. Please, don't try to jump on his dick while he's actively grieving. Yeah, read the room. Wait a couple days. Assuming they're the only capable or competent characters in the setting. For example, someone gets kidnapped. I describe dead attackers at the scene, making it clear there had been a tough battle and it wasn't easy for the captors. When the party finally rescues the person, the barbarian goes on a long rant. Why couldn't he protect himself? Using violence for everything. If someone might know something, the party threatens them with violence. If someone doesn't want to give them what they want, it's always, "Let's fight him." Like, Jesus Christ, do I really need to explain that even if the other person is just an average Joe, there will be consequences for picking fights with people? The only thing that's ever really gotten to me is when a player argues that an NPC didn't react the way they actually would in a situation. This wasn't even a personal NPC they'd created for their backstory with an established personality. It was just a character I made entirely on my own. They insisted they knew how the NPC would react and claimed I wasn't playing them correctly, even though I'm the one who created the character and their personality. Just to clarify, this wasn't a "they're not acting logically" moment. They literally meant, no, that character wouldn't think like that. That's not their personality. I know you're paying attention, and that's good. But stop playing that other game on your computer. Stop playing Doom or whatever other bullshit you've got running. This is D&D night. It's been D&D night for the last 3 years. I don't care if you have a basic idea of what's going on. I want you actually paying attention. If I'm not entertaining enough, tell me, and I'll make it entertaining. Every single session will have 2 or 3 fights, and we'll go late every night if that's what it takes to get you involved. Most of my issues can be summed up as players expecting NPCs to act like video game NPCs. I've seen players try things as stupid as putting a basket over the shopkeeper's head in Skyrim. Stealing money back from the shopkeeper's open palm while he's looking right at them comes to mind. And I'm talking about money they just gave him, by the way. It's very common for players to treat NPCs like they're drooling idiots with no agency or goals of their own. Just talking cardboard cutouts here to spew exposition. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below what's your biggest pet peeve when it comes to player-NPC interactions. And if you want to support the channel, keep the lights on, and keeping the scripts on flowing, make sure to join our membership program. You get early access to videos and our eternal gratitude. We love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you next time. Toodaloo.